Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. We're back again, but this time we're going to get into Gamedec. You know, I've been playing a ton of Pathfinder, and I wanted another computer game that would be a completely different change-up for me. No swords, no dragons, something completely new. And I'm hoping that Gamedec is going to scratch that itch. I know very, very little about the game. In fact, I've only seen one trailer for it, but I noticed that a couple of reviews rated it pretty highly, said that it's a lot about investigations and trying to figure things out, and it's got a real tech vibe to it, and it just sounded real interesting, and I love the screenshots for it. So I figured it's something I'd probably want to get into, but just want to be completely honest with you that I know very little about it. So this game may totally suck. And so we're going to get into it. We're going to try it out and we'll find out. One of the main complaints that I've heard about the game is that there's little to no voice acting in it. But as you all know, that's no problem for me. I have no problem whatsoever voice acting the characters that I'm playing. So it's not a detraction for me at all. One other quick note before we get into this. Again, I know very little about the game, and therefore I don't know what are the best builds for this game. So it's completely possible that we're going to get 3 or 4 hours in and I'll be like, you know what? Game is great. Definitely want to play it, but my build sucks. We're going to have to start all over. All right. And if I feel that way, I'm definitely not going to hesitate. I'm going to go right back to the beginning and figure out a build that I'm actually happy with. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but just wanted to prepare you for that right off from the beginning. Otherwise, if you enjoy this content, please go ahead and leave me a like, leave me a comment, let me know, hey, this is something you'd like to see more of. I'll probably try to drop the playthroughs over the weekend. You know, most of the week is still dedicated to Pathfinder stuff, but I plan to do it on a regular basis and definitely play this game all the way through. So let's go ahead and get started. Ooh, okay. Always like it when I get a little character customization. So on this guy, that's chick, interesting. Okay, and I don't see any stats or anything changing, so I guess your look doesn't really decide. I guess these looks are not tied to any sort of particular character archetype, so I can just pick whatever I want, I assume. Yeah, he seems like a big guy. That looks a lot like me. What do you look like, brother? Nice looking, brother, but not like me. This is more my speed. Character name. Ooh, I should have given some thought to this. So I'm an investigator, right? I'm supposed to be figuring things out. What's a popular You know what? I don't know if this is the correct spelling, but when I used to be over at my grandmother's house, she loved watching Matlock. Is Matlock 2 T's or 1 T? I don't know, but we're gonna go with the 2 T look. That spelling is probably completely wrong. Please forgive me, but I know my grandmother used to love watching it, and I used to enjoy sitting down next to her and watching it with her. So we're gonna go with that. Pronouns, interesting. I can't remember seeing that in the game before. He, him, she, her. Oh, okay, cool. Well, he, him then. Origin. Are you low city scumbag? High city. I'm going to assume high city is supposed to be upper crust. We'll say I'm going from the low city. I'm self-made, coming up from the slums. All right, values, self-direction. The dominant value guiding your character before they chose the Gamedec profession. Your choice will determine the aspects they will start their adventure with. What do those little symbols mean? 1, 3, 1, 1. I don't know. But they're changing up as if I should know what they are. Interesting. Okay. We'll just have to go with what's in the values. So we have self-direction, stimulation, hedonism. What? Yo, I got involved in this for my own pleasure. Okay. We're going to definitely put a check mark next to that. What else I got? Achievements, authority. Probably cool, but not on this playthrough. Security, conformity. Oh, that's cool. Oh, yeah, that'd be an awesome playthrough. Well, hey, I'm just trying to blend in and I just want to be like everybody else. Tradition, nice. Benevolence, okay. Universalism. What does that really mean, though, in this context? And then self-direction. We're going to go with hedonism. I'm curious. And so that gives me a 2 on the light bulb. Light bulb's probably creativity, right? And then there's a puzzle piece, so that's my analytical skill, my ability to figure things out. I don't really associate hedonism with problem solving. Seems like hedonism should give you more heart. I don't know what heart is, but all right, you know what? Let's not make assumptions when we don't even know what's going on in this game. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, next. You gonna give me some stats or something? No, they put you right into it. Okay. Apartment, Realium. Oh, wait, these are actual words. The unofficial name for the highest levels of a polis. High cities feature walking platforms, flying junks, and the densest network of pneumobile routes. It's become customary to believe that high cities end at the level where the highest reaching routes of the public transportation tubes are located. Multi-sensory encyclopedia. Using the key to continue. Interesting. I didn't remember why I become a Gamedec. At some point, I must have... Wait, it's blocking it off. Dialogue options. To choose a dialogue option, left-click on it or press the corresponding number key. Conversation history. To see the history of your current conversation, click the arrow at the top of the dialogue window. That's cool. Okay. At some point, I must have decided that it was a reasonable way of making money. Then I just got used to it. Recall your career. I solved numerous cases, so people started to believe I was credible, and credibility was crucial in my line of work. Pretty much everything can be falsified, but you can't fake credibility. Games, besides being my workplace, also became my second home. Did I ever play for fun? Yes. Sometimes I did. Look around. I was surrounded by the real world, that is, Realium. Okay, so the Realium, okay, is the real world. Interesting. Okay, cool. I could hear Warsaw City humming outside the window. I lived in Tower Stone in Wola. It was the end of the 22nd century, and the people were crazy happy. Kidding. Some were, some weren't. Which group did I belong to? I wasn't sure. Start your day. It was time to check if there were any new jobs. Okay, standing up. Movement. Left click anywhere on the ground to move there. Use the tab key on your keyboard to adjust movement speed. Left click the interaction icons to interact with an object or person in your environment. Some icons are always visible. Others will only appear in certain circumstances, e.g. when you move very close. Okay, cool. So make sure that you're moving close to everything that you can see in the environment. All right, let's get comfortable. First and foremost, is there a quick save? It's F5 in Pathfinder. It's F5 here. Very, very nice. Okay. Exclamation points here. Let's check them out. Whoa. Aspects. Aspects are part of a Gamedec's personality expressed through actions, thoughts, and emotions. Be kind to gain the empathy aspect. Inspire someone to gain inspiration, etc. Aspects are grouped into 4 personality types. Decisive, red. Analytical, blue. Creative, yellow. And sociable, green. Aspects are used to unlock professions. Hold down the left mouse button on a chosen profession to unlock it. Professions unlock special conversation options, enabling you to do more. Hover your cursor over a profession to see its description. Each profession requires a different personality. The description will indicate which aspects unlock a given profession. A profession will be highlighted if you have the required aspects. Click and hold the left mouse button on a profession to unlock it. Interesting. Okay. So let's see. Determination, authority, sincerity, indifference, impatience, specifics, selfishness, target. What does target mean? Inspiration, spontaneity, optimism, verbosity, energy, expression, atmosphere, intuition. Interesting. Principles, calm, loneliness, caution, logic, facts, discretion, and precision. And then finally, empathy, listening, trust, compassion, amicability, service, pacifism, education. Oh, so that's why that heart doesn't go with hedonism, because hedonism probably is more about you being all about yourself, right? Your own pleasure. It doesn't mean that you're actually in tune with other people and what they would find pleasurable. So, okay. All right, I guess this makes sense. So, with this combination, do we start from the outer? No, 3, 4. Okay, so no, we must be building up to these and starting on the inside, right? You don't meet these requirements. You do meet this. You don't meet, you do meet this. Okay, Glazier. You're well versed in both virtual and real technologies. You know where to look for power nodes, cables, and virtual developer stacks. You can open them, hack them, and change their settings. That's interesting. This is about survival, physical, scalpel. You know how to communicate with metabots. Okay, so this is all about working with technology. This is Infotainer. You know how to produce a net show and how to smile for the camera. You have charisma and you know how to use it. You can turn any conversation into a media interview and transform resistant targets into effusive companions. People recognize you and want hollow pics with you. Everyone is nice to you. Well, almost everyone. Perfection. Yep. Yep. I love being the guy in RPGs who can convince other people. So this sounds like it's right up my alley. Sensory celebrity. We're not going to read the description yet, but I want to know what we're supposed to be working towards. 3 light bulbs, 1 puzzle, 1 empathy. Okay, interesting. All right, that is professions. Now, Codex. Characters. No characters unlocked. Virtualium. Gameverse site. Do you want to know more about the Gamedec verse? Interested in news, updates, and gossip? Visit gamedecverse.com. Okay? Gamedecks. Galahad on Gamedecks. Cal, one more stupid question. Shoot. What do you think about Gamedecks? I think it's a fun but completely unneeded profession. A blown up nothing. Redundant. Oh, Frank, I disagree. Being a game deck is a sensible profession. But when something bad happens inside a game, it's easy to just pop up the hood, take a look inside, and see what's wrong. Such problems should be handled by programmers, analysts, not game, and that's where you're wrong, Frank. Just like my mom when she added cocaine to the cake instead of baking powder. What? She did that? Yeah, in real life too. What a woman. But let's cut to the chase. Games are complicated, right? Right. AIs are watching over them, right? Right. The number of Chai-Tong characters composing them is so great that no one person could ever know the whole program of even the simplest game, right? I'm not sure about that one. Frank, in a brain, in my brain, there's 100 billion neurons. In yours, there's half of that. And every neuron has 10,000 junctions on average, synapses. And multiply 100 million by 10,000 and you will get a 1 in 15 zeros. It's called a quadrillion. So your helmet controls a quadrillion synapses. Now take a game like Crying Guns, where there are 50,000 players on a single server. 50 times a quadrillion gives you 50 trillion variables per second. And that's just controlling the brains of the people playing the game. When you add their stimulation, neuronal response control, creation of the world with a whole sensory report, i.e., pictures, sounds, smells, flavors, temperatures, you're going to get a factor multiplying all that by another million, around 50 septillion variables per split second. That's a lot. You're fucking right, that's a lot, Frank. You're talking about one server in the living organism of the game adapted to the situation of the battlefield in a simple sensory world based on battles and clans. Can you imagine the array of this world? No. So now imagine that someone throws a cheat in there. Find it. Impossible. Order an AI to find it when the person who implemented it made it so that AI can't define it. That's possible. It's easier than you think. Now, how do you find that cheat? I don't. Exactly. You won't find it by browsing the code, but a game deck will. How? Game decks usually don't know about programming, at least not an expert level. Game decks don't browse the code. They look for the people who implemented the cheat and nicely ask them to remove it. O. Game decks handle people, not code. They observe, draw conclusions, deduce, and analyze. They need three things: to know about games, to know about people, and to have a high IQ. They examine the problem like birds flying over a labyrinth. You're stuck in that labyrinth, running in circles. So you outsource. You call a game deck. They come, take a look around, analyze, and find the problem. Bingo. And then they say the famous game deck catchphrase: detection ends case. Fascinating. That's super cool. Okay. Devitalization. Devitalization is a process generated by a player's helmet. It is responsible for activating a game pill. It is similar to the natural process of falling asleep generated by the pawns. It entails disconnecting the brain's motor and sensory centers from the rest of the real body. Thanks to this, a player can move the limbs of his or her character in Virtuala and receive digital sensory stimuli, and at the same time lie still on a couch and feel no real stimuli. The only muscles that are not devitalized are the oculomotor muscles. The same exact exception occurs during sleep. This phenomena can be observed in the REM, rapid eye movement, sleep phase. Rendan. Rendan, digital brain, a device shaped like a real brain and emulating all its functions with the ability to create new synaptic connections. Rendans have both a neural network and the network of all classes of the glial cells found in organic brains. A Rendan can be based on a psychoscan of a living person, which makes it able to store a psyche identical to that residing in the original brain, or a psyche transfer from an organic brain, or it can be developed artificially from the ground up. See Pygmalion technology to hold a new, previously non-existent psyche. This is how diginets are created. Sensing. The communicators of the late 22nd century ensure visual, sound, thermal, and olfactory contact. This conglomerate of sensual modalities is called sensory connection, or sensing. A computer user connecting to a user of the same device has access to 4 sensory representations, but does not have to use them. Users often turn off the olfactory and thermal channels. Owners of newer walk-tails have access to optical, auditory, and limited olfactory channels, just like Omnic owners. The owners of the newest Temple Obi coins can take advantage of the amazing quality of all channels, as Obi coins send sensations directly to the interpretive areas of the brain. This makes them better than computers. Interesting. Okay. All right, and I think that's everything in the Codex. Save. Did that automatically do it? No. Oh, okay, just click it automatically did it? Okay, cool. All right, now, done all the Codex stuff. I see, here, first let's go back here. Can I move the camera at all? No. Okay, so what you see is what you can see. Okay, cool. Can't do anything with this, but it looks like I can click here. Warsaw City, my polis. Look out the window. Walkways, squares, space, and chasms. That's what modern cities look like. The middle layer, mid-city. Despite dense developments, you can still see the sun and pieces of the sky, as well as the long way down. So, confused about something. Warsaw City, my polis. What does polis mean? Codex information unlock polis. Oh, okay. Maybe I just need to go back to the Codex and then explain. Because he said this is what modern cities look like. So I don't think polis means city. So, does it mean apartment? Nice view. I feel a connection with the people above and below. I can hear the transit tubes, new mobiles, the humming ads. It was never quiet. This is where the rich meet the poor and the light meets darkness. This is the layer of the city where you can be pretty much whoever you want. And where advertising drones peep through people's windows looking for new victims. Contemplate. I had a few things I needed to think over. You can't really contemplate without a drink in your hand. Luckily, the servo bot knew exactly what I needed. I greeted my robotic friend. It was waiting for instructions as usual. T. Some dialogue options are available only with the right profession. They are marked with profession name at the beginning. Click the icon on the left edge of the screen or press I to see the profession tree. I always like tea. It opens your mind and cheers you up. I had a decent chemical blend and the real, more expensive stuff. Infotainer, reputable brand. Food and drink manufacturers regularly supplied me with high-quality products for my servo bot. All I had to do was to mention their brand on my social media every so often. I decided to think some stuff over and get to work. Sensory worlds. Thousands of games and millions of players mean plenty of cases for Gamedec's. Hatred, greed, and deviousness are especially common online. Two topics have been especially popular in the media recently: digital love and whether it's better to live online or in Realium. Digital love. Time for a sip. The opponents of online relationships have a simple argument. The beautiful young prince you fell in love with may actually be a lecherous old man. And it might not even be a human. It could be an impact. Supporters of online romance respond with, so what? We live in times where you may never see your love in Realium. What difference does it make what he or she really looks like? Decide you have nothing against digital love. A dirty old man pretends to be a pretty girl. Is he a fraud? No, he is a pretty girl. He always wanted this, and it's possible online. When people love each other and look how they want, and not as Realium dictates, who are we to say no? I think it's beautiful. Recent events. Some have been talking about the Pygmalion technology developed by Blue Whales Interactive. It upgraded AI to the level of the human psyche. Recent gossip. A man named Ken Zhao, a young, good or bad star, screwed up in the last game, and his Black Angels lost. Pygmalion technology. BWI claimed they could create human beings, obviously for a hell of a price. Such humans are called diginets. A diginet has a synthetic brain, a Rendan, but no body. It lives online unless you buy it a Mobrium. There were demonstrations at the company's location against this technology. The protesters claimed that diginets were unnatural. Decide that the protesters are right. Diginets hadn't been tested and the technology hadn't been verified. It worked because BWI said it did. The protesters were right to demonstrate. Pygmalion was a suspicious technology. Leave. It was time to get to work. Okay, so... oh, weird. Interesting. Okay, so it added new entries here without actually telling me anything. The championship. Enough about crying guns, Ted. Let's move on to good or bads. Steffi, I knew you were going to bring up that bloody sport. There's no bleeding involved. But there's suffering, Steffi, suffering. And that's the beautiful part. The ribbon of the Hammerfield scale unfolding over the tortured, the knowledge that damage points inflict real pain, that 10H hurts like surgery without anesthesia, with 20 being nigh inconceivable. Do you see them as the gladiators of the 22nd century? Of the end of the 22nd century. Yes, they're real heroes. There are also a lot of female players. That's because women are more resilient. That's cheating. But still, there's only one human being, and a man for that matter, capable of taking a 20. Yes, Peter crashed kites, but we were supposed to move on to the game, Steffi. That's right. In keeping with the Saturday custom, the 7th Heaven Arena will be the venue for a clash between the winged demons of the Black Tritons and the archangels from the Roaring Wings. The only cover comes in the form of clouds and stronghold walls. Then it looks like we're in for a bloodbath. NPCs. NPEC, one of the strangest words on the net. Where did it come from? And why has it become so popular? Hypotheses vary, but the one that seems to have gained the most traction can be traced back to the territories of former Poland. The NPC acronym was pronounced as INPEC, in pets, by the Polish people, and by mid-21st century, this form had become widely accepted, adopted in social media. That was before the information era. Because the word was incomprehensible to other nationalities, the Poles kept patiently explaining its meaning. The inspiration for the change is said to have been inspired by a series of science fiction novels, but the sources don't mention their titles. Finally, the situation got to a point where the awkward acronym NPC was abandoned in favor of INPEC, with English speakers pronouncing the word as INPEAK. Another hypothesis claims that the name is an amalgam of INPEAK and originated from the fact that at the dawn of game history, INPEAKs, no matter what time of day it was, always remained in peak condition, not getting tired from managing shop counters or working in taverns, ever smiling and ready to answer our questions. This hypothesis seems to be confirmed by retrospective research, which proves that this period marked the introduction of scripts that made NPEAKs experience tiredness, irritability, etc. If the NPEAK condition hypothesis is true, then the word NPEAK attributed to making NPEAKs more human. About Virtualia. Cal, I have a question. Shoot. Virtualia, what do you think about them? Are you kidding me? I've been into gaming forever. I've done millions of interviews, covered hundreds of thousands of digital miles, and you're asking me what I think about Virtualia? You know why. Because I don't think you ever asked yourself. I never have because it's stupid. Why? It's like you asked me what I think about Relium. Relium exists. We try to model it, but we also try to adapt to it so we won't make the same mistakes we did 100 years ago. But we created Virtualia ourselves. Hundreds of thousands of games, so many that I'll never get the chance to visit them all. Millions of ideas, millions of players traveling through uncharted land. You know what? It wasn't a stupid question. I told you it wasn't. Virtualia is like a universe. The universe holds an enormous number of planets, and even if you lived 1,000,000 years, you would never get the chance to visit them all. Just like Virtualia. It's kind of scary. And one more thing. Yeah? Two, actually. First, who controls it all? No one person can ever manage, and I don't trust AI. We have transcended IT singularity. We don't control what we've created. And the second thing, the AIs. They are actually controlling and developing games right now. The programmers are only kind of keeping an eye on them. And how can we keep an eye on something that controls something we can't control anymore? Interesting. All right. I don't want to get carried away. We'll come back to this. Okay. Finish that conversation. Living room. First. Nothing by the bag. Nothing there. That's the door out. Can I do anything over there? It doesn't look like it. A virtual couch. Not the newest model, but I can still rely on it. At least, I think I can. A poet would call it a gateway to the sensory worlds. To me, it was just a tool of my trade. Weird. Okay, so now I do have an exclamation point over the folder. What decides whether or not it's worthy of an exclamation point or if it just gets added to the Codex automatically? Interesting. Look at the helmet. It was starting to fall apart. I needed to replace it. Damn it. Such important gear wouldn't come cheap. I couldn't afford it at the moment. I needed a few jobs first, or one big job that paid well. Check fluid level. Fluid levels were low. I still had a few tanks left, but it's always good to have reserves. Order infusion fluid. Done. The delivery drone will be here in a few hours. Check couch log. July 17, 2199, 3:30 p.m. My last session took. The couch displayed an error message recommending to reset it to default settings. The model's reliability had become questionable. The glory days of this thing are well behind it. A Gamedec should spare no expense of things like this. It's time to think about getting a new one. Leave. Okay.